Well, DC is all in with its new initiative to bring new and exciting stories. This includes the Absolute Universe. The first issue in the Absolute Universe is Absolute Batman #1. Am I all in on this comic? Well, let's take a look at the comic and find out. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Beefy, and this is Saturday Morning Comics. Absolute Batman #1 was released on October 9th, 2024. It is written by Scott Snyder with art by Nick Dragotta. For those who might not know, the Absolute Universe was created in DC's All-In #1. The Absolute Universe has a little bit of an infusion of Darkseid energy, so it might be a little darker, more grim, or a little less hopeful than what we're used to from our regular DC universe. I will admit, I'm a little bit excited to try these new Absolute versions of the Trinity, mainly because I've always liked Elseworld titles. I don't necessarily think the Elseworlds are the best writing in the world, but it was always fun to have a little bit different take on the heroes that we know and love. My first impression of the comic is I do like the cover. I'm not sure about the bat symbol, but, it's different, and I'm okay with that. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the comic. All right, here we are, Absolute Batman #1. Like I said earlier, I like the cover overall. There's one small issue I have with it, which I'll talk about when I get to that. Unlike other Batman origin stories, we don't start in Crime Alley. Instead, we start at the Gotham Zoo, with Bruce, his father, and some other kids. So we're going to skip ahead a little bit in the comic to keep going over this origin story of this universe's Batman. So, as you can see in these panels here, Bruce is talking with his father. However, unlike being a rich businessman, this Thomas Wayne is a teacher. So unlike the previous Batmans who might have grown up with a silver spoon in his mouth, this Batman and Bruce Wayne is a little bit more grounded or relatable to the everyday person. And here is just another scene of the shooting at the zoo that goes down. Thomas Wayne urges kids to run inside to the Bat House down here, which obviously will be foreshadowing for why Bruce takes up the Bat mantle. So as far as this origin story of Bruce goes, it's kind of nice to see at least something different being tried. I think some people will really like the idea that this Bruce Wayne is more relatable to them. Some people will probably prefer that he's a billionaire, but I appreciate that they're trying something different. This is where we are introduced to the older Bruce Wayne. It starts off in Croc's gym, and you see a man training, which at first I thought was Bruce Wayne. However, when you flip the page, you find out that was not Bruce Wayne who was training. However, this big, beefy guy is the current Bruce Wayne. So obviously he is training, he is fighting, probably getting out those pent frustrations from losing his father. And this would probably be one of the areas that I have a little bit of a critique on. I know during this part of the comic, it kind of threw me off because when you look at some of this art, he kind of has a baby head. His body is massive, but it looks like in some of these shots that his head is not proportional to the rest of his body. And so that would be the one main critique I had on this, which going back to the cover, I then started to notice that his head is kind of a baby head as well. Like I said, not a big critique, and really it was only kind of in that introductory part that I noticed it, as it just, I didn't like it. But it's not terrible, but I thought it could have been better. The only reason I could think that maybe they're drawing him like that, and this is just speculation, it's not in this comic at all, is that maybe he's juiced up a little bit on the Absolute Universe's Venom. But won't know until I read more. So, as I said earlier, this Bruce Wayne is probably a little bit more relatable. He's not a billionaire. With his old rogues, instead of him coming from a different place than them, he actually grew up with them. And that is alluded to down here in this part of the corner, in which you see a shot of him growing up with all of his friends. And that is your Batman Rogues Gallery. So I do like how in this universe we might not see the exact same characters, or at least we won't see them in the same roles that they have played. Speaking of familiar faces, early in the comic we are introduced to Alfred Pennyworth. However, unlike in the typical Batman universe, Alfred is not a butler, but instead he is a special agent of sorts. So I know Alfred had fought in the war. That's one of the backstories they had for him. This Alfred Pennyworth is like he never stopped fighting for his country. And so he has been sent to Gotham to do some reconnaissance on the party animals. And here we get a shot of his place in Gotham that he has. And really, it's a different look at Alfred. I'm not sure how I feel about it currently. I would say I'm kind of indifferent at the moment. I'm not sure I like it. I'm not sure I dislike it. I do like that they're trying to do something different in this universe that hasn't necessarily been done before. The party animals happen to be a gang terrorizing Gotham City. They wear these black animal masks and are led by none other than Roman, the Black Mask himself, who is seen here. So while some of the Rogues Gallery of villains have grown up as Batman friends, we still do have some of Batman's villains playing their villain role. It just might not be the same that we've been used to in the past. Alfred was also warned about another person in Gotham who might be fighting the party animals, which happens to be, as we know him, Batman. And so here is a shot, and I really like this splash page of Batman jumping into the fight. And while I might have had a little bit of problem with the art at the beginning when we met Bruce Wayne, I kind of forget about that when I get to this part of the comic and see the action scenes. I like how the cape is used almost in replacement of the grappling hook. And there's Alfred watching on. And then another cool thing I liked about this Batman is his pointy ears happen to be batarangs. And this page is a good example too of what I like about how this comic is set up. Is this has a lot of panels, so you get a lot of action on the page in one go. And that's something that I wish more modern comics would do. While I feel like this page is more traditional, only has 4 panels overall, however, it does have a cool review of, I guess, what we would call the Bat Axe. I'll try not to give away any more spoilers of the action and stuff, but I will end on these 3 panels in which Alfred and Batman finally meet up. I'll let you read the comic to figure out what happens in this scene. This Batman is a little bit more grittier, I'd say, than what we're typically used to from a Batman comic. But that's one of the nice things about these Elseworld type stories, is that you get to explore different aspects of a character or play around with them that you might not have done in a normal comic. So that's it for the quick look at Absolute Batman #1. So, am I all in for this comic? I think I'm going to have to say that I'm not all in, but I am interested enough that I have the next 2 issues on order. So if you've liked what you've seen and like what you've heard about the comic, I would encourage you to go ahead and check it out yourself. I want to thank you for stopping by, go read a comic, and have a great rest of your day.